real for real.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's been about 35 years since I last put up a video. I don't know why. For the past couple of months, every weekend I just sort of had something to do, which is so unlike me. I don't have a social life, but the past 2 months I've been living. Anyway, this video has been a long time coming. It's on the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation, as well as the NYX Swear By It palettes. So let me just give you a quick rundown on a little bit of the products before I show you how I got this look. And okay, first things first. NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. So when this first came out, you could only get it at the standalone stores, and the only standalone stores that there were is Canal Walk in Cape Town and Santon, the NYX Santon in Santon City. So I got 2 of the foundations. The first one I got was actually this one right here, which is in the shade Beige, and it looked okay in store. I mean, I got it swatched. One of the assistants helped me. He didn't do a very good job because this looks like I just slapped my face with turmeric, and so that's why I didn't want to do a video when I got this initially. I wanted to get another shade. So then I did get another shade, and that is the shade Neutral Tan, and this works a bit better. However, it is still a little bit a touch too dark. So you could see something's off when I put this on just by itself. But I found that if I mix the two, it's not too bad, and I can still get away with it. Like I've got it on now, and it looks pretty good. So if I mix the two, it works. It's just a little bit annoying that I still can't find a shade, because these are, I think, 260. These are, I think, about 260 rand a bottle, and to have to buy 2 is just not practical. So I'm still on the search for my correct shade. So apart from that, the foundation is supposed to be full coverage. So it's supposed to be full coverage and all that jazz. To me, I don't think it's full coverage. I have to go in with about 2 layers in order to get a good coverage. I would say it's a medium coverage. I won't even say medium full. It's just medium. So you do have to kind of build it up. But I guess that's also dependent on the type of skin you have. If your skin is very, very clear, this will be very full coverage for you. But if you do have problem skin, then you might have a problem like what I did. You'll also see me use different concealers and contour products. It works very well with the foundation. It doesn't separate. It doesn't cause the foundation to break up or move or anything like that. Also with highlighters, it works well with a variety of different products. So you can just see what my skin looks like now while it's being contoured and all of that stuff. So the foundation looks pretty good, and also with like photography, for me, I did get a bit of flashback from the foundation, and I don't know if that's because the foundation is not exactly in my shade that I got the flashback. I don't know if it does that if you have the foundation that is in your shade, if it flashes back, but for me it did a little bit, and I will try and put a picture somewhere. And yep, so that's my take on the foundation. I've worn it quite a bit now. It lasts a good 8 hours. I do get oily in my T-zone, so where I'm normally oily, I do still get oily. I don't touch up my foundation. I normally just dab it. But if you do need to if you do get oily and you do powder, then you will have to powder, because it's not a foundation that will just stay the way it is, even if you do set your face. I found that even when I blot with tissue, it does move the foundation, and the foundation tends to break up after a few hours around my mouth area and around here. And I don't normally have breakup around my mouth area with foundations, but this, it tends to sort of like separate, but it's not something you can't get over or try and fix in some way or the other. I would give this foundation about a 7.5 out of 10. I wouldn't say it's a holy grail foundation. It's a good foundation, but I wouldn't lose my shit over it. I mean, the L'Oreal Infallible Stick Foundation is still 1,000 times better to me than what this is. But I mean, I still really like the foundation though. I'll give it that. So next, let's move on to the palette. So it is the NYX Swear By It palette, and this palette is absolutely gorgeous. Also, I don't know if they have it at like the Clicks and the Discount or whatever, but this you can only get, I think, at the standalone store for now, which is, as I said, Canal Walk and Santon City. So I got mine from Santon City, and this was actually my Christmas gift, so it's a good thing I waited for the foundation review. I could do both together. So you'll also see me doing this eye look with the palette. The foundations are really good. The blending, it blends fine. However, when I used a bunch of these yellow and orangey shades, and it's not as pigmented as I thought it would be, because I actually used some of the neutral shades the day before, and those worked out very beautifully. But now using these yellows and oranges, as soon as you start to blend, it starts to like blend away and doesn't really leave the product, and then you have to keep going back in and intensifying it, and the color does not come out like this yellow here. It doesn't come out that yellow on your eyes, and then you have to keep building, as well as the this pink shade that I used and this blue shade. It fades, it blended away. It wasn't as pigmented as I thought it was going to be. That's why I'm not 100% in love with this eyeshadow look that I've done. It's just, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. But in the same sense, it's not a bad palette. It's beautiful. It's got all the colors you need for like a good colorful makeup look. There aren't really that many transition shades. If you're looking for transition shades, there aren't a great deal, many of them in this palette, but it's good if you just want pops of color and you just want to take one palette with pops of color. Then this palette works out quite well. So I haven't tested all of the colors. The more colorful colors to me weren't as intense as some of the neutral shades that I've used previously. They actually came out quite beautiful. So maybe it's like a formula thing or something with this palette, I'm not too sure of. But for the palette, I'll probably give it about also a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a bad palette. I actually really love this palette. It's very pretty and it's got beautiful shades in it, so I really do like this. And I know this goes for 400 Rand at NYX, at the NYX store, so it should be around the same price once it hits like Clicks and stuff. Yeah, I really like it. And you know, if you want to invest in a palette, this is not a bad one to start off with, since there's 40 colors in the palette, and for 400 Rand, I mean, it's not bad at all. And it's also not badly priced for a NYX product, because I know NYX is sometimes really ridiculous with the prices of their things. So that's why when I saw the palette, I was actually pleasantly surprised, because it's not as expensive as what I thought it was going to be. So yes guys, that's it from me. If you'd like to see how I got this makeup look, how the different products work with this foundation, then please keep on watching. Okay, so let's start with our concealer. So I'm just going to be using the Catrice Camouflage concealers, just to color correct. So this is in the green shade, just to cover up any of the redness and also like the imperfections that I do have. So I like to just add green just to color correct. Now I will do this step with any foundation, so it's only fair that I do it while reviewing the Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. And I have used this now quite a bit, so I do have my opinion on the actual foundation. So I'm just gonna color correct like this. That is a bit much, but it's okay. Next I'm going to take the yellow corrector, and that gets rid of the sort of sallowness, darker spots, darker shadowy bits underneath your eyes. So that just brightens it up a little bit. And then I'm taking the LA Girl Pro Concealer, and this is just in the red shade, and I'm just going to place this on the spots where I have darkness. So just there and a little bit there. And then I'm just going to go in and blend this all. So my skin is not doing its best recently, and I do have these two like pimples here, and they are healing, so you get to also see, I guess, what the foundation looks like when you are breaking out and all of that. So I have two shades of the Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. This one is beige and this one is neutral tan. Beige was a bit too yellow, and neutral tan is slightly too warm, even though it does say it's neutral. They don't work for me separately, but together it's not a bad combination. I'm just going to quickly get a pump of this. Okay, that's one pump, and it is fairly thick. I'm just going to dot it all over my face. I'm going to take one pump of the beige. Okay, that's one pump of the beige. And how I like to do this foundation is with a brush for the first layer, and then I sort of go back in with a second layer where I need it with a blending sponge. This does claim to be full coverage, however I don't think that is full coverage for me. Okay, so just blend this out. And it blends out quite nicely, however you have to work really quickly with it because it does dry quite fast. So you want to work quickly when blending this out, and don't forget to take it down your neck as well. So this is what the first layer looks like. I always go in with the second layer because you can still see the imperfections here and here, but that's normal for me. My skin normally never gets covered with one layer of foundation. I always go in for a second because I do have such bad spotty skin. So that's what it looks like, and I will generally go in with a second layer. So let me just show you how I do that. So I just take about a half a pump of each color, and I just sort of spot it like that, and same story, just take another pump, spot it all over my face like that, and that's when I then go in with a blending sponge, and I will blend the foundation in with the blending sponge where I need it. It gives a lighter coverage, but coverage nonetheless, because you don't want it to be too cakey or anything like that. And then whatever's like sort of on the sponge already, I just like rub, pat into my forehead, like around my eyes. I never generally take more foundation up to my forehead, because that's the one part of my face where it's kind of doing okay by itself. So I've just done my eyebrows off camera. Next we're going to move on to concealer. So I'm trying to keep this sort of like a one brand sort of tutorial. So my eyebrows were not NYX, it was actually Revolution, so I just skipped right through it. So the only NYX concealer that I have is the Gotcha Covered Concealer, and this is in the shade Medium Olive. So I'm just going to quickly add some of this concealer. So with this foundation, a lot of the other concealers that I do have work just fine with this foundation. I've used the Maybelline Fit Me concealer, and that works fine, as well as the MAC concealer. What else do I have? The Wet n Wild concealer works just fine with this. So all the concealers, even the Revolution concealer that I have, they all work really nicely with this foundation, so there's been no separation or whatever. But this is actually the first time that I'm using the Gotcha Covered with this foundation, so let's just see, because I know the Gotcha Covered doesn't really work that great with any of the other foundations that I've used it with. So it seems to be blending out fine. So I've contoured and everything, and you can see that the foundation is still really good with all the products that I've used. It hasn't smudged or moved. So now I'm just going to set the contour into place, and I'm using the Catrice Sun Glow Matte Bronzing Powder, and this is in the shade Medium Bronze. So I'm just going to take some of that and add it to where I have contoured. So now I'm going to set the rest of my face where I put the concealer, and I'm going to be using the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat powder, and this is in the shade Creamy Neutral. Next, with the bigger brush and my Maybelline Fit Me powder in the shade 220 Natural Beige, I'm just going to set the rest of my face. Okay, now moving on to the exciting part, which is the eyes. For eyes, I'm going to be using the NYX Swear By It palette. This is so beautiful. Let me just open it. These colors are amazing, and it's everything you could need to create a really awesome look. So I absolutely love this palette. So I'm going to be doing a look using some of the colors from here, and I'm gonna zoom you right in for this part. First, we're going to be starting off with this creamy bone colored shade, and I'm applying this all over my eyelids just to set that concealer into place and to create an even base for the rest of the shadows to then be applied on top of. Now I'm taking this mustard yellow shade and I'm applying that into my crease, And you just want to apply this in sort of circular motions, buffing it out as you go. I start off with very little shadow, and then as I go I build the shade up, and each time just applying it in circular motions and building the intensity of that shade. With that same mustard color, I'm going to run that on my lower lash line as well, just to smoke that out as well. So same color, and you're just joining the bottom to the top in circular motions. Taking this yellow shade, I'm putting it into my crease as well, on top of the first mustard shade, and bringing it slightly lower down onto the rest of the eyelid. With the shade, I'm also going to be adding it to the lower lash line, also smoking the lower lash line and intensifying the yellowness of this look. Next, I'm taking this orange shade from the palette, and I'm putting that slightly below where the crease colors are, more onto the eyelid, and just blending that out into the two previous crease shades. I'm also taking this orange color onto my lower lash line as well. But as you go, the idea is to build the intensity of this orange shade up, just so you have a very nice blend. It's easier to blend the colors out as you apply them than it is to just try and sort that out at the end. I'm moving on to this, it's sort of like a caramel orange shade, and I'm just adding that into the crease just to intensify it a little bit more. It adds a lot of depth to this look, so that's what you want, but you don't want to go with browns yet. So I'm using the oranges just for depth, and I'm also applying this to my lower lash line as well. Taking a clean blending brush, you just want to blend out the outer edges of this eye look, as well as the lower lash line, just so everything is clean and seamless and you don't see anything stops or starts. Next, taking this dark, sort of like a burnt brown red eyeshadow, I'm placing this into my crease and running it along my lower lash line as well, just to darken things up a little bit with this eye look. So you see we get like a rusty reddish brown yellow look. I'm just going to cut the crease, or well, a little bit of the crease, and I'm using the Revolution C5 concealer, and we're going for a sort of spotlight halo eye, but I kind of forgot and I started cutting the crease, but I'll show you how I fix this a little bit later. Taking this burgundy shade, I'm placing that onto the eyelids, so I'm just sort of building the intensity up of the shadow as I go. Taking the bright blue shadow from the palette, I'm then going to be placing this a little bit onto where the pink ends, and onto the rest of my eyelid, and you'll see that with these shadows you sort of have to build the colorful eyeshadows up just a little bit more because they aren't that pigmented. I'm also going to be taking that burgundy pink shade and just run it down my lower lash line just to connect all the colors into each other. So I'm going to be using the NYX Vivid Brights liquid eyeliner, and this is in the lilac purple shade, and I'm just sort of creating a cut creased wing look with this. Stuff is actually way harder to work with than what I thought. So I'm just going to use my Urban Decay liquid glitter liner, and I'm just placing some of that glitter liner on top of the lilac eyeliner that we've used in the crease, just for a little bit of sparkle. Next, I'm going to line my eyes with the Inglot gel liner in the shade 77. You can wing your liner, or you could just leave it, but I just think it looks better winged. I'm not sure what lashes these are. I just found them in my little lash tin. They kind of look like Hitler's beard, if I do say so myself. But yeah, I just stuck those on. You can use whatever fluttery lashes you have. That should be fine for this look. And next, once that's done, I'm just putting on some mascara onto my lower lashes just to balance the look out. Okay guys, so now that we're done with the eyes, I'm just going to put on some lipstick. So I'm going to be using the NYX lingerie lipstick, and this is in the shade Honeymoon.
Real for real. I don't think I got enough, like real for real. I just feel I'm starting.
I'm just going to also add a little bit of MAC Stone lip liner just to bring some definition to my lips.
And I thought in the day, someone take this cocaine away.